Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our virtual town hall. We've been doing these for a number of months now, and as I said last month, as long as you continue attending, we'll keep doing them for you to provide information. As of right now, we have over 600 people registered for this town hall, so thank you for taking the time. And we have a good cross-section of faculty, staff, and students joining us today, so thank you all for taking the time to be here. Hopefully the information is valuable for you. So let me give you a brief overview of what we're going to do today. So we have about an hour together or so. As always, we have a message from our Chancellor Reddy. He'll kick us off here in a minute and share a few words. From there, we'll go to Stephanie Hannenberg, our Assistant Vice Chancellor of Health and Wellness. Stephanie will share a few thoughts with us about COVID and the issues there. Then Greg Williams, our Director of Networks and Infrastructure in OIT, will share a few words about some of the things that are happening in OIT. And then we have our shared governance leaders with us today, something a little different. So David Weiss from the Faculty Assembly President is here. Alex Baker, our Staff Association President, is with us. And then Aidan Meadows, our Student Government Association President, is here. So they'll all have a few minutes in our program to share a few words with you. As always, we're going to take your questions in the second half of the hour here. So at the bottom of your screen, there's a link there and a form. So I encourage you, if you have questions as you're hearing the presentations for any of the speakers or something general you want to know more about it, drop that question in there and we'll do our best to get to as many of those questions in the live section as we can. So you may notice that Doris, our interpreter, is not with us right now. She's had a conflict this hour, but do know that we're recording this session. We're going to record her interpretation later this afternoon, and then the video will be posted later with both the interpretation and the video. So we'll do our best with that. So thank you very much. Of course, I always ask you to be patient with the technology. As I say, we're getting good at this, but you never can tell what may happen. So we'll do our best to get back online as quick as possible if something happens. So be patient with us. With that, let's get started with our program. So I'd like to introduce our Chancellor, Reddy. Chancellor.
Right. Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for our September Town Hall. Believe it or not, we're moving into the 4th week of our return to campus. And this may be one of the most unusual semesters we have ever experienced in the university history. But life is still happening at UCCS. As I walked the campus in the last month, I felt incredible pride in our students, faculty, and staff. These times are not easy, but our campus community is truly rising to the challenges presented by the new normal. In extraordinary times, I find myself celebrating ordinary things. Our students are participating safely in sports, events, clubs, and organizations. Our campus community is going above and beyond to follow the public health guidelines issued by the state. Everywhere I walk on campus, I see mountain lions wearing face coverings and maintaining social distancing, even outside and between buildings. They're eating lunch together on the lawns, getting to know each other at events while maintaining appropriate social distance. In classrooms and labs across campus, our faculty are teaching and conducting research. Staff are working hard to support our students and faculty as they ensure smooth operations across the university. Students are using curbside pickup to purchase supplies from the bookstore. They're keeping good distance in the communal spaces of our residence halls and dining halls. I'm encouraged that our fall student club fair was just as much a hit this year as any other year. We had over 60 clubs and organizations set up at safe distances on the West Lawn over the course of the 2 days. And I heard 600 students attended the event. Just like any other year, I was pleased to host dinners on campus for the student scholars receiving Kane scholarships and the scholars who are part of the Chancellor's leadership class. Speaking with these students inspires me. It reminds me of the true meaning of the work we do every day. Despite all the obstacles they face this year, our students are 100% committed to pursuing their dreams. They told me how much they appreciate UCCS holding in-person classes this semester and how much it means that our campus community is committed to their success. In our tough moments, I hope we can all remember that our efforts help these young people to make strides in the directions of their dreams. I say this because I know we are all facing challenges. Last Wednesday, I had the opportunity to listen to over 120 voices of faculty and staff members at the campus listening and sharing session. I heard you. It's a testament to the strength and understanding of our campus that we can have hard conversations together. Our faculty and staff brought real, pressing questions and thoughtful solutions to the table. I've been working closely with our shared governance leaders and will continue to do so to find the best possible solutions. Together, using our collective insights and experience, I know that we'll emerge from these difficult times stronger and better than ever before. I want to acknowledge the hard work of every member of the Mount Lion family. I know there have been professional and personal challenges during these unusual times, challenges that sometimes feel insurmountable. I deeply appreciate the flexibility and dedication you have shown in the past months. Your efforts are not invisible. They are seen, acknowledged, and appreciated. Thank you for the amazing efforts you have made despite your own personal challenges. I really appreciate you adapting to the changing normal and continuing to stay nimble. We have other good news to celebrate. I'm also pleased to report the progress we're making on the matters of equity, diversity, and inclusion. We're beginning to identify resources for an expanded physical space that will house the multicultural office for student access, inclusiveness, and community. You probably know it by the name Mosaic, and the LGBTQ plus Resource Center. A larger physical space and expanded services will allow us to even better support our multicultural and minority students. Human Resources will start working on supervisory training modules that include equity, diversity, and inclusion training. I'm also pleased to report that our cabinet members and I will start our equity, diversity, and inclusion training this week, in fact, starting tomorrow. In other good news, we recently celebrated the opening of the brand new building, the William J. Hibble Sports Medicine and Performance Center. It's officially open for business and academic classes. Students, faculty, and physicians are walking the halls together at a safe social distance, of course. Medical professionals are offering their clinical practices, and students are taking advantage of the state-of-the-art equipment there. The learning opportunities available for our students are unique on a national scale. I'm so excited to see how our students leverage their learning into successful careers. We have a lot of good news to celebrate. We also have opportunities to do better. Although the majority of our campus community has been putting forth a tremendous effort to follow public health guidelines, we have not been perfect. We reported our first 3 positive COVID-19 cases among students last week. I'm glad to report that the students are only experiencing mild symptoms. They're doing well and self-isolating together off campus. Through contact tracing, we learned that the students were allowed to remove their face coverings while they were still in close proximity. This incident is a real learning opportunity for us if we choose to take it. Every person on this campus, I know, has a huge heart for our students. I know that none of us wants to move back to fully remote operations. Universities across the country are reporting significant positive cases, but thanks to your tireless efforts, we're defying the odds. We have the chance to prove that we are the exception and not the rule. I know our campus is capable of doing great things because I've seen it over and over again in my 29 years of being on this campus. So I call on our entire campus community to stay committed to the 3 W's. Wear your mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance. Your commitment to following public health guidelines makes a true difference. I encourage you to keep track of our case rate using the COVID-19 Ready dashboard. The COVID-19 link is easy to find at the top of the UCCS homepage. Now, allow me to share a few more updates on the budget and personnel matters. Thanks to the efforts of our faculty and staff, including a truly tremendous campaign of personal outreach and virtual engagement throughout the summer, we slowly but steadily improved our enrollment, particularly after we announced that we're opening the fall. Thanks to all of your efforts, our fall enrollments at census came in much stronger than the predicted -15%, which we did back in June. At census date last week, we were only down 3.7%. It seems surprising to celebrate a negative number, but I'll tell you, this has been good news for us. This means we don't have to make any additional cuts this fall, and will thoughtfully introduce money back into the campus in several critical areas. I'm pleased to let you know that no staff member is at more than 1 day per month furlough after we adjusted the affected staff members in the auxiliary services. It's important to note that this revenue is still less than the tuition revenue realized in 2019 that forced us to take a $5 million budget cut last year. Given that we're not out of the COVID-19 crisis yet, we must hold significant monies back in case we have to go fully remote and potentially refund money to our students for housing and dining, among other expenses. And because of the uncertainty of the virus spread and its potential impacts as we continue to move through the semester, the CU system has opted to continue furloughs across each campus, regardless of their enrollment figures. I will continue to advocate for our faculty and staff who have moved mountains to make this semester possible. For now, we'll stay the course of the budget we have set as we determine how this year will play out. Every year at commencement, I tell our graduates that challenges are ever present. It has never felt more true than now. In light of these challenges, I ask each and every one of you to have compassion for those around you and for yourself. Challenges are ever present, but we're not alone as we face them. Lean on your colleagues. Ask for help if you need it. We can do this hard work if we do it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. We'll now move on with our program here. So next, allow me to introduce Stephanie Hannenberg. For those of you who are paying attention during the introductions, you notice she has a new title, Assistant Vice Chancellor of Health and Wellness. So congratulations, Stephanie, on your new title. And let's go to you for an update on our COVID response.
Thank you, Chris. So I'm going to hit a few points that have come up repetitively, I think, with a lot of faculty and staff, just to try to help give everybody an idea of what's happening. Related to the daily health screening, it's great. Lots of people are doing it every day. Everybody should be doing it every day. So if you're not, please remember to do so. We've had a few people that accidentally answered yes to some questions and then panicked about what do they do when they get that email. You can feel free to either explain that to your faculty member or your supervisor, or you can email us, and we are happy to give you an email that says it's okay for you to be in class, as long as you really and truly should be answering no to all of the questions. But if you do answer yes, if you have any new onset symptoms, you really and truly need to stay home and seek medical guidance. We're seeing more students that are coming to campus even with symptoms because they think maybe it's a cold or the smoke or whatever it might be that's in the air, but it's a new onset, and those really and truly need to be investigated. So please remember that if you answer yes, you need to stay home. As far as testing, right now the Wellness Center continues to do testing for symptomatic students and any exposures. The reason we're doing testing on anybody that might be exposed is because if they test positive, they will be in isolation 10 days versus quarantine for 14, but you cannot test out of a quarantine. So if you were a close contact to somebody who was known to be a positive, even if you test negative, you still have to be out for 14 days. If somebody does test positive, they will be in isolation for 10 days as long as their symptoms are resolving and they've been fever-free 24 hours. The other caveat is somebody can test negative and have to stay in isolation, and that came out as a health alert last week from our health department, and that's the guidance we've been giving, that if you have symptoms and it's been longer than 48 hours, and again, if they're new onset, then we need to make sure that those individuals stay in isolation for 10 days because we know that there can be some false negative tests. So as long as we can get that in place, it will help our entire campus community. We are looking into surveillance testing. We have our rapid machine that will be coming in the next few weeks where we can get results in 15 minutes. And we're coming up with a protocol and an approach. The things that we're looking at right now is, do we do some random testing of in-person classes? I'm looking at our residence halls, and then looking at a combination of doing some wastewater testing in combination with very directed testing in those areas that come back positive for possibly having COVID in the wastewater. So all that is underway. We will have an approach in place by the end of the week and hopefully have our machine in the next couple weeks. So that will be rolled out hopefully by the end of this month. Another thing I wanted to remind everybody is that if you hear that somebody might have a positive or maybe was exposed, please refer those over to the Wellness Center for us to manage. It is extremely complicated because if somebody's in quarantine and they become symptomatic partway through, their clock restarts. Any people they were around, their clock restarts. and it becomes a numbers game. So just contacting us is a great idea, as well as you can make a judgment call if you want to change your class to a different format for a short period of time, but you cannot implement a quarantine or an isolation on somebody without the Wellness Center kind of getting all that information and helping process that. And just maintaining our community confidentiality. We shouldn't be sharing names of anybody that might have been positive or is positive to protect that confidentiality. So please keep that in mind as well. And finally, I'll say for flu shots, we encourage everybody to get their flu shots this year. Faculty and staff, a lot of pharmacies are giving them. Unfortunately, we cannot have the health fair this year, but I will be checking with B Colorado to see if they plan to come on campus. But your primary care provider also has them. They are a covered thing under every insurance plan. And then for students, we will be offering flu shots starting this week and hope to have a very targeted effort with our residence halls. And the hope is that if we can get enough people the flu shots and we have a low incidence of flu, it'll make it a lot easier to manage the COVID situation as well. So with that, I will turn it back over to you, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. Questions are flying in. There's a lot of health-related questions, and we're done with the presentation, so I'll get in touch with a few questions. So thanks. So now let me introduce Greg Williams. He'll talk about some updates being made by the Office of Information Technology. So, Greg, take it away.
Thanks, Chris. I'm going to talk about two apps. One is actually the daily health assessment app that we would like you to take that Stephanie just talked about. The health assessment app is located at uccs.me/healthcheck. The app allows you to choose which group you belong to, whether that is employees, students, or visitors. If you are an employee or a student, the app will log you in and display your name and employee or student ID information. The app will ask you a series of questions based off the CDC guidelines to determine if it is safe to come to campus. All campus community members should be taking this assessment daily if they are coming onto campus. And if you're a student that lives in housing, you should take the assessment before you leave your room. The app will send you an email indicating if you are allowed to come to campus that day. If you are approved to come to campus, your email will indicate this in a large green highlighted text box along with the date. If you are not allowed to come to campus that day, your email will indicate this in a large red highlighted text box along with the date, and also provide you further instructions on how to seek care from a medical provider or instructions on how to contact the Wellness Center if you are a student. You may be asked by members of the campus community, such as faculty or service organizations like the OIT Help Desk, to show your email for that day to show that you have attested to your current health status. The other app that I would like to talk about is the UCCS mobile app. We would like all of campus community to download this app as there's information on there for everyone. It is available on the Apple Store, App Store for iOS devices, and the Google Play Store for Android devices. And it's currently available for prospective and current students to get information about campus and to interact with various systems across campus. Student life, orientation, faculty assembly, and advancement have all worked on this application together in its various stages of development. The prospective student persona allows you to view a virtual campus tour, get information on housing and dining services, academics, financial aid, admissions, and more. The current student persona is a much more interactive persona that allows you to interact with Canvas, access email, access your student portal to view grades, access financial information, register for classes, view campus maps, access our new mobile ordering system for dining or mobile queuing system, and get information on many other services across campus. We also have another persona coming up, which is the faculty and staff persona. This will be available in a couple months, and it will also be integrated into the portal and other systems across campus. So it is one app to view many different services across campus. The app is updated frequently with new integrations from all over campus. And again, we would like every member of the campus community to download that app. Chris, back to you.
Thanks, Greg. So we're going to open the floor up to our leaders from our shared governance bodies. So each of our shared governance presidents will reflect briefly on the start of the academic year and share some updates on what they hope to accomplish in the upcoming years. So let's kick it off with Professor David Weiss, the Faculty Assembly President. David.
Hi. Yeah, many of you know me. I'm David Weiss. I'm faculty in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry, and I'm the Faculty Assembly President this year. So, you know, this is your voice for the faculty to talk with the administration, and we're really active, engaged, and as the Chancellor had mentioned, we just had a listening session last week. So I think that was a great start to the academic year, which is a fantastic idea to hear from faculty and staff about some of the issues they're having. We are really engaged. And one of the things I want to mention is that you probably remember that last spring we had a faculty survey about the issues the faculties were foreseeing for the fall. We're doing that again for this coming spring. So that's going to come out next week. I've been working on that with Academic Affairs to ask you about how your research has been over the summer and in the fall here, how your teaching has been affected. And then you probably saw that I sent out an email with a description of the instructional modes, because there was a lot of confusion about what the difference is between high flex and hybrid and blended, remote synchronous versus asynchronous. And so I'm hoping that that email will help clarify that. And I think the registrar's office is even going to send that out again with the next version of the schedule, so people can figure out how their courses really should be for the spring. So we've been working on those instructional modes, as well as we're going to send out that survey next week with the idea that the deans can act on it, so that this will be something asking about your technology needs and other needs as faculty members. And we're really hoping to help faculty for the spring semester and figure out what they want to do. We're also going to talk about the non-tenure track faculty committee. We don't want to call them by something that they're not, as non-tenure track, and really give them a name that they would like in terms of their actual duties. And also I want to mention that last year we worked on developing methods to evaluate in-person teaching to help faculty with their merit evaluations. And I think that this year we'd like to work on how you evaluate online and remote teaching to help faculty with their teaching evaluations too, as faculty reviewing other faculty's courses and strengthening them for their students and their merit evaluations. Finally, a couple other things I thought we would think about is that, you know, really having empathy and understanding of the other faculty and the students, especially in this time of COVID. And one of those things is related to snow days and dead week. Faculty talk about dead week, but I've heard that some faculty don't know what it is. Should that be a policy? Is that something we really do? It sounds like we really changed that across campuses in Boulder, Denver, and UCCS do very different things. So that's something I thought we would talk about this year as well. And I think that's sort of a summary. I'm happy to take any questions, Chris.
Perfect. Thanks, David. So the questions are coming in here, but we finished the presentations. We'll get to those, and I do actually have a couple for you, so we'll see how it goes. So just so you know, we have almost 200 faculty members who registered for today's presentation. So I hope you guys enjoyed hearing from David there. And we have over 400 staff people. So we're happy to have Alex Baker, our Staff Association president, here to talk a little about Staff Association. So Alex, take it away.
Thanks so much, Chris. Good afternoon to the campus community. Chancellor Reddy, of course, thank you for having us speak today. As mentioned, my name is Alex Baker, and I am the case manager for the Office of the Dean of Students and the care team here on campus. And this year, I'm thrilled to serve as the Staff Association president. I will say, when I ran for this a couple years ago, I don't think I thought there'd be a global pandemic, but I'm sure all of us are in that boat. So it's been a very interesting few months, but I'm excited to be here. In our new normal, the roles and priorities of Staff Association have shifted some due to COVID-19. And while we are adjusting and focusing our efforts on maintaining a safe and open campus, we will also be prioritizing other areas. First, we want to ensure staff at UCCS feel like they always have a way to communicate their needs, challenges, successes, and concerns. As you probably have seen, we just hosted our first joint listening session with Faculty Assembly and the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion to hear from both faculty and staff about the challenges they are facing during the COVID-19 pandemic. While we are still compiling our notes and getting a deep understanding of the issues, I'm confident the listening sessions provided us all a more holistic perspective of the challenges our colleagues are facing, while also providing tangible action items we can each implement. One of the biggest takeaways for me is the idea of loneliness or feeling alone. Personally, I plan on making sure I do much more outreach to colleagues, check-ins on how people are doing, and when I see another staff member across campus, make a genuine effort to make sure that they can see my smile, even through my mask. To ensure staff are feeling heard and like they can stay up to date on Staff Association happenings, we are also completely redesigning our website. One of the important features of the new website will be a feedback form for staff to use at their convenience, to share their thoughts and concerns quickly, easily, and anonymously if they so choose. The next goal we hope to accomplish this year is to continue to build an effective and helpful working relationship with the Chancellor, Cabinet, and Human Resources. While we have made phenomenal strides over the last several years, building effective relationships is an ongoing commitment. I'm very optimistic at the direction we're going, and I personally would like to extend my gratitude to everyone involved for having and committing to continue to have these conversations. We understand that times are tough right now for all of us, and this includes staff at UCCS. Last spring, we developed a program called Clyde's Kudos with the goal of helping boost morale on campus. In just 8 months, we have seen over 300 individual kudos written across campus. The exciting part about this number is it doesn't take into account teams, departments, or even kudos that thank several people. When you factor all of these things in, more than 750 individuals have been celebrated. While the program was designed and intended for staff here at UCCS, we've noticed staff recognizing faculty and vice versa. We will proudly continue to accept kudos for faculty or staff on campus, as we know it's important to be recognized for the hard work we're doing, regardless of our titles. The last thing, but certainly not the least, that we aspire to do is to continue to push diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts to the forefront of what we do. Last year, we created the Staff Pride Committee, which focuses on supporting and including our LGBTQIA+ community on campus. This year, we are currently working on a Women's Committee, as well as looking at an overarching Diversity Committee, 2 areas we know we can be supporting further. This year might look and feel different, but we want to remind you that we are still the same staff association you know. We hope that through our efforts in the coming year, we will be able to amplify the voices of our campus community and move through these times with compassion and grace. And I know I've shared quite a bit, but I'm very excited for the year ahead, pandemic or not. In conclusion, I want to encourage each of you to remember that we are truly all in this together. Remember that we are all navigating challenges that might be invisible. I know these times are hard, but I also take faith and pride in the incredible efforts our faculty and staff made to ensure a safe return and semester at campus. Whatever the future holds, I'm confident that as long as we each act with courage, extend buckets upon buckets of grace, and choose kindness everywhere we go, we will be making UCCS and in turn the world a much better and kinder place. Thank you. Chris, back to you.
Thanks, Alex. So now we'd love to hear from Aiden Meadows, our Student Government Association president. So Aiden, wrap up the presentation part for us here.
Saving me for last. Hi, my name is Aiden. I'm the Student Government Association president on campus, and a lot of the efforts that I'm going to talk about today will also include things that my vice president, who's not here today, her name is Rachel Cowles, and so a lot of these have been joint efforts from the both of us that we're taking on through our approach to this year. And so SGA this year has taken a 2-pronged approach to what we're trying to accomplish this year. And so the first of those is a look at how we operate internally. This is something that we've been looking at for a long time. And so within the organization, how we communicate to students, faculty, and staff, how we represent ourselves, and how we operate within ourselves and communicate within SGA as well. Second thing that we're taking on is an external approach, this being a very student-focused approach and taking on a more grassroots look at how to solve problems, finding them, and continuing on throughout the year from there. And so first I'll talk a little bit about how we're changing up our internal operations to better support the students there as well. And so this began this last year when Rachel and I were running for this position before the pandemic hit. And so this began with our club funding cleanup process that has so far been looking much better and a much easier process for clubs to apply for funds through our club funding, the Student Government Association's funding process. And so we've been looking at things like that and combing through every process that is confusing to not only outside community and student members, but also just SGA members as well, looking at anything that is convoluted or unnecessary and making changes of it to make it a much more streamlined process. A lot of these issues have been pretty pervasive ones for a pretty long time, but they often were just neglected and pushed off. So Rachel and I have taken it on this year, since now we're having such an online presence, to take a look at how we operate internally and to make that a much more efficient process. Speaking of our online presence, another thing we're working on internally is our advertising communication with students. And so our entire presence online, being through our website, our social media platforms, or even just how we are emailing and communicating with students, is all being revamped. And so we are looking at new campaign and logo designs. We are looking at different member apparels and really trying to change up how the students perceive us a little bit so that we're a much more approachable group to students across campus. And this is really going to tie into things that we're doing externally as well, and how we're communicating with students and how we're trying to hear out and solve their problems. Because of the pandemic and how school has had to change, administration now, and including SGA, is having across the nation a very difficult time at trying to really catch up and understand what the student experience is currently and how the students are feeling and getting in contact with them. And so it's really our job as the Student Government Association to be that bridge that connects students with administration, relays some of the issues and frustrations that they may have so that we can all work together as the governance groups in order to solve a lot of those problems. And so we're really trying to just form those connections and work with the 3 different governance groups across campus so that we can really make sure that the students' voices are being heard and being explained and having those issues solved that they may be having, especially this year, since a lot of them are a lot bigger now than they ever were before. And so we're really focusing on, and specifically, now that we're moving into a world of online classes and COVID and following guidelines, my vice president, Rachel, is working on an anonymous reporting system so that students, if they're feeling uncomfortable or in case guidelines aren't being followed, but don't want to directly talk to faculty or staff about it, this is something that students could anonymously report, and then it would be sent out to the proper people there. We're also going to be running and looking into a few student forum groups. You heard from the other campus governance ones that they were doing some faculty and staff forum groups. And so we're taking a look at trying to get some students together as well in order to just hear more en masse what their issues that they're having right now are. And so we're also hearing them through emails, through our website, through our social media as well. I've been pretty active in the parent Facebook groups that are out there. There's been a lot more popping up, and so I've been trying to address concerns and answer questions in there. As well as Rachel and I have just been pretty active across campus in different clubs and community groups, and really just trying to stay as connected with students as possible. And so that is the summary as to what SGA is looking at and trying to accomplish this year.
Aiden, thank you so much for sharing that little update on what we're doing in the Student Government Association. So Well, this is when we transition from the presentation part to the Q&A part. So I want to thank everyone who submitted questions. We have dozens of questions and about half an hour here to answer as many of them as we can. So if you'll be patient with me, I will do my best to kind of summarize. There's a lot of themes that I'm seeing as we're opening the questions here. So if I don't read your question exactly as it's written, hopefully we'll capture the theme for you there. So we're going to start out with Stephanie. So Stephanie has promised lots of health-related questions here. So the first, I've had a number of questions. People have received their face coverings in the mail this last week or so, and the questions that are coming up are how to appropriately wear them. They seem relatively thin. In past forums, you talked about folding them over. So can you give just a quick update on how we can appropriately wear those face coverings, and then some other alternatives? People asking if it's too thin or doesn't fit me right, what are my other options? So. Sure.
So as we had mentioned before, and just a reminder, we ordered the face coverings pre the research study that came out. We have talked to the state health department and local health department about the face coverings, and we recommend that you double and triple them over. So with these particular face coverings, if you can double and triple them, it makes them thicker. And if you can't see through them, just make sure you're covering your nose and your mouth with that portion that's doubled and tripled over. If you don't feel like it's fitting properly, or you can still see through it at that point, wear it around your neck. The next time we have snow in September, then your neck will be warm, and then put a mask over your face. Whatever you're wearing, it really needs to be a snug fit around your nose and mouth, and cover that whole area, and make sure that, again, you can't see through it. So ideally, and if you've been on campus, you've already been wearing other face coverings, just continue to do so, and then use the gaiter and double and triple it up.
All right, thanks for clearing that for us. So. Greg, believe it or not, I have a number of IT questions coming through. So we'll start with one now, and I'll have a couple more in a few minutes for you. This one's pretty specific, so you may not have the answer for us right today, but they're saying that students reporting the new Chromebooks they received are unable to use the Respondus lockdown browser. So you may not have an answer today, but any thoughts on work or behind that, or maybe some things people can do to make that work?
Sure. The Respondus lockdown browser is installed on the Chromebooks. We are investigating issues right now with Respondus Monitor, and we will provide an update on that when we have one, which should be soon.
All right, so we'll do our best to get that information out to students. Thank you. Chancellor, we had one, I think it's in your realm here, about online courses. So they asked, with more students now opting for online learning, will students be able to enroll in online courses across the CU system?
At this point, no. But there's a lot of work being done at the CU system level on an online initiative. So I think more to come, but at this point, they can take classes, but they have to go through the process, just like you would take a class even prior to the online stuff. So you still have to go through the process, but it's not easy to just go take a class.
All right, so the process stays the same there. Okay. David, we have a question that came in for you. So you mentioned briefly in your remarks about the snow days. So it said in the winter storm email from last week, there was a mention about faculty assembly working on what a snow days might look like in the future. So do you have any updates on kind of the work that's happening behind the scenes on that?
Sure. I've been talking with the associate deans about that actually today, and the different colleges. And one of the things that we've found is that, and this is part of the listening session too, is that some faculty think that they really need to hold their class remotely on snow days. And other faculty believe that they can't hold their class remotely on snow days because their kids are at home. And some colleges are saying, okay, well, your in-person classes are now moved online during a snow day. And then the faculty are saying, we can't do that. So I think ultimately the bottom line is the faculty need to decide what's appropriate for their course and to tell their students soon, so that the students know what's happening when the snow day comes, and that for the things that are happening on campus physically, those will be canceled on the snow days, but the faculty will decide whether it's appropriate to keep their course happening, and they should tell their students soon.
Yeah, I know the snowstorm this week kind of put snow on everybody's mind a little sooner than we had expected it this fall. So I know a lot of getting done behind the scenes on snow days, with a lot more to come. And I think Chuck Litchfield mentioned that we're hoping by October 1st to have some more firm guidelines in place. So thank you for the Faculty Assembly for continuing to do the work there. So. Chancellor, I'll come back to you with another question. So in your comments, you mentioned furloughs a little bit, and I have 3 or 4 people who asking follow-up questions about that. Can you talk briefly about what you said about the furloughs and kind of reinforce that message about the system and all?
So let me start off saying I'm not a fan of furloughs, but we had to do this because of the circumstances that came about. My hope was that we could gradually decrease the furlough time for faculty and staff, but the day the Regents meeting happened was the same day census date came. So until census data is available, we can't take anything for firm. So we hope to take this forward to the Regents in November and work through the president, because furlough days also have the negative effect of faculty and staff are not available to work on those days. That means work also gets impacted. So we will continue to make a case. My hope is we'll be able to reduce those and hopefully gradually eliminate those over time. But it's not happening right now. You'll know more in November.
Perfect. Helps clarify that. Thank you. I'm going to come back to Stephanie now. So Stephanie, they're asking, they don't feel, the person asking the question doesn't feel there were frequent updates to faculty, staff, and students about the number of COVID tests, the positive rates, et cetera, asking there to be more transparency. I know we recently launched the dashboard, so can you talk a little bit about what we're doing to help share information about positive COVID results on campus?
Sure. So there is the data dashboard that Billy Joe Baptiste, our Director of Health Services, is actually updating every day. So some of the information that's on there are how many tests have been done, how many total positive cases we've had since the beginning. When you look at that data, it doesn't always align though, because that includes all of our commuter students, faculty, and staff. To date, all of our positive cases have been commuter students and staff. So we don't have any residential students that have tested positive. And most of the reports of the testing are the commuter students. So the data is a little skewed with that because the results you're seeing aren't necessarily all the tests you're getting from the Wellness Center. And we don't get the results from the negative tests that are done in the community, so we aren't able to add that information. But it is updated daily. We're being as transparent as we possibly can. I'll tell you right now, we had 2 more cases reported to us from the health department this morning. 1 person who'd been on campus, 1 person who had not. All that contact has been made because people were following the proper procedures. Again, I don't think there's going to be anybody else affected. We'll tell you that is key. The questions I will also ask you, if you have somebody who's positive in your vicinity, I'm going to look at the size of the classroom. Was the door open? So there's a hint, if you can, keep your door open. Was everybody wearing face coverings the entire time? How far apart was everybody? If you can do even more than 6 feet, great. I ask facilities, thank you, Kent Marsh. He tells me the ventilation in the building every time. I need to know how long everybody was in the room together and how well it was disinfected pre the students coming in and when they're leaving. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at your workspace and the classes. All those are key to whether or not other people are going to end up being quarantined if we have positive cases.
Hey, Chris, as we are on the test topic, I do want to be clear that because I heard some folks say, well, are you trying to save money by not doing tests? It has nothing to do with the resources. It's not the money issue. It's more of capabilities and capacity issues in El Paso County when we started there. But I'll ask Stephanie to expand on that, how we are thinking about planning some random testing, and new tests are going to be coming pretty soon. So Stephanie, if you want to share the details of that.
Sure. So I'll expand a little bit on what I mentioned earlier. All of our providers right now have limited capacity, so that's why we've had to do the testing of only symptomatic and positive exposures. When we get our rapid machine, it's called Sophia 2, we will be able to do a lot higher volume of testing. Billy just placed an order already in anticipation of a machine coming, and we will get results in 15 minutes. So we could actually test multiple people at once, and then we can run the cassettes through the machine, and in 10 seconds, and the results come out after that 15 minutes of where the test has sat. So we'll be able to look at some broader testing. Again, we're going to look at sewage water testing. Kent has been working on that as well to identify buildings where we could go in and do some more targeted testing, as well as doing some random testing so that we can try to pick up some of the positive cases that maybe the people aren't symptomatic, and we can put a focus there as well. I will tell you our plan all along has been if we start to see cases that have any type of a connection, so maybe 2 students on a residence floor or in a residential hall, then we will go in and do very targeted testing, maybe on the rest of that floor or that building, so that we can try to identify and isolate and quarantine all the students as quick as possible.
Thanks, Stephanie. Go ahead and keep your mic on. Next question is for you also. You mentioned staff flu shots in your comments. Can you reinforce that message about flu shots for staff and students, where they can receive those?
Sure. So faculty and staff through your insurance, if you go to the pharmacy that accepts your insurance, they will do your vaccinations there. You can contact the Health Circle Primary Care Clinic down at the Lane Center for your flu shots. You can go to your primary care provider office. Most of them will offer flu shots, many on a walk-in basis. So trying all of those avenues, the little clinic at a lot of the places will offer them. I'm checking with B Colorado through the system office. They usually will come down and offer flu shots twice a year. I don't know what their plan is based on COVID this year, so I will get that information and ask us to send that out for the campus. And then students can get their flu shots through the Wellness Center as usual.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, clarifying that they're not going to be offering campus this year, but so find them in the community, but your insurance will cover it. So great, thank you. Greg, I promised a bunch of IT questions, so we have a couple of more coming your way.
Sure.
You talked about the daily assessment link. Folks are having trouble finding that. Is there an easy way they can reach that, or do you have the URL off the top of your head by chance?
So as with all IT demos, it just happened to go down as soon as I started talking about it. But it is back up. And I have already asked the team to put a monitor on that so we can monitor it from our main monitor page, which is on our oit.uccs.edu page. So it is working again.
All right, and where do they find that? It's on the homepage?
uccs.me/healthcheck. And that will redirect you to healthcheck.uccs.edu. So both work, but the signage around campus says uccs.me/healthcheck.
We always put a quick summary of this meeting in the newsletters, so I'll make sure that we put those links in there as well. And Greg, while your mic is on, they're asking, what is the app that we can download to our phones again? So the campus app with the different personas, to remind us the name of that, if they go search on the App Store.
Yes, it is called UCCS Mobile.
All right, so look for UCCS Mobile in the App Store. I can help you out with this. All right, Chancellor, we'll come back to you for this one. So it says, seeing the strong enrollment numbers and so many faculty positions being filled, when can we expect staff open positions and promotions to be fulfilled again?
So as you recall, when we went through this process, we created a position review committee through which the positions were coming, and you're going to see more positions be approved than we have anticipated because of the relief that the enrollments are given. So absolutely, we really did not slow down any of the faculty positions because we do need the instruction capacity, but staff positions, yes. But I think you're going to start seeing that more will be released. Absolutely.
That's great news. All right. Alex and Aiden, we didn't forget about you guys. Questions are coming for you. So we'll start with Alex. So Alex, they say in the recent campus listening session, faculty and staff shared that taking a vacation day or a break doesn't feel effective because their work kind of builds up as they spend time away. Thoughts on pushing for a culture for real work-life balance? You had a few comments during the listening session, so I'm curious if you can share a few of those with us.
Yeah, I think the easy answer here is to set really good boundaries with yourself and your team and your supervisor, and then make sure you explore what those boundaries look like with all of the people mentioned. A good alternative is, if you do an await email, really specifying in your email that you will likely need some extended time to respond. I do know Staff Association is looking at ways to mitigate this, and I think I heard David earlier say something very similar. But I want to acknowledge that sometimes boundaries aren't always easy to achieve, and especially right now. As everyone is aware, we're living in a global pandemic. As everyone might not be aware, we are also living in a time really of heightened awareness of systemic racism, and especially anti-Black racism and economic precarity, which have compounding effects on all of our current circumstances. So it's really important to know we are living in an extraordinarily stressful time, and especially for people with marginalized and minoritized identities. And it's so critical that we acknowledge that. So I hope that everyone will be leading with compassion and understanding, flexibility and care, both with those we supervise as well as with ourselves. And while work is so incredibly important, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for our jobs. Our safety and our health, which includes physical, mental, and emotional health, those are all prerequisites to us working. So I say all of this to really remind each of us that there's a lot going on both inside and outside of our work, whether that be at home or in an office space or a nice hybrid of the two of those. So just please make sure you take care of yourself when you can, even if that means doing a few more emails the day you come back from your time off. It's really important that you take care of yourself.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate that advice in these challenging times. So thanks. Aiden, we have a question that I believe that you can help answer. So it's from a student perspective. So it says, are the current strategies promoting mask wearing and social distancing working for our students? And if not, what could we do to help get that message across better? So just from a student perspective, how are we receiving the mask and social distancing messages on campus?
Yeah, I think this is something that we are definitely continuing to build and learn on as we progress through. And so at the start of the semester, we had all of the posters put around campus and a lot of emails sent out reminding students and making sure that they're doing that daily health assessment and wearing masks and socially distancing. You'll see the stickers all across campus on floors and on different seating areas, just reminding students everywhere. I think that they've done a great job starting and just making sure that students understand what the appropriate seating options are and when they need to wear masks and not. Then comes the next and more important step of students listening to that and following those guidelines. And so I think we saw at the start of the semester a little bit of I think that there were definitely, I'm an RA, and so I was there for the whole move-in process as well, and get to see and teach the students as well in the residence halls how exactly they are promoting and doing and supposed to be following these guidelines. And so I think it's going well. And I think that we're still trying to get this message out to students. It's really just about repetitiveness at this point. And so you'll see a lot more efforts coming out. Student Life is putting a whole new campaign of why should I wear a mask that a ton of students are taking a part of and being asked to. I am filming my video for that later today in order to be a part of that campaign. And so we're constantly reminding students about the needs for this and making sure that we're just staying up to date with those health guidelines as well. And so finally, I just asked, stay safe and wear your mask.
Thank you so much, Aiden, for that perspective. That's excellent. We're getting toward the end of our time. We have time for a couple more questions here. So Stephanie, I got a couple questions. This may not be right in your wheelhouse, but you're the closest to it on the panel here. So the question is, are classrooms cleaned each evening? If we enter a class, should we assume that it's not clean? So some tips on cleaning as you're coming to and from campus, classrooms, as well as common spaces as well.
Sure. So I did talk with facilities last week, and classrooms are being cleaned. They're getting a deep clean at least once a week. But even if they are being cleaned, if that room happens to be cleaned every day, you really need to have the students and yourselves doing a cleaning before they come in and sit in that space. It's just good practice. It's the same for your office. The CDC recommends that every time you're going into work, that you're cleaning your space when you arrive and when you leave, and that goes for classrooms too. So coming into your space, cleaning wherever you're going to be sitting, any equipment you might be working with, making sure it's disinfected, and then doing your part to help the person behind you by disinfecting again when you're done. So I would never assume that anything is clean. I don't personally ever assume anything around me is clean anymore, and I just go ahead and disinfect, and then that way it gives you some peace of mind as well.
Perfect. So keep your microphone on. So the question is, can faculty take the rapid COVID-19 test on campus? I know the equipment is still not here yet, but remind us who that will be used for and what uses that new rapid test.
Yeah. At this time, it's really just for the students, given the volume and the capacity for us to be able to do that testing. We are referring all faculty and staff that have any COVID-like symptoms and are looking to do testing right now. We're referring them to community testing sites or your primary care provider. Most urgent cares in town are doing testing as well. I will tell you, when you go to do testing at the community sites, make sure that you look and see what day they're open, because there's one that is not open on Mondays that I caught today when I was referring somebody. So it's just good to pay attention and always call ahead. At some point in the future, as capacity grows, we may be able to offer it to faculty and staff, but right now, as a start, it's going to be for students.
All right. The next question is for the Chancellor. So I see a bigger picture for the question here. They're asking, when can we have visitors and guests back on campus without special permission? I think they're asking, we put a lot of guardrails in place, with the new semester, and they're asking, when is it appropriate to dial those back? So thoughts on the new semester and the COVID guardrails we have. And Stephanie may have some comments as well when you're done.
So when I first made my comments, I said we are entering a 4th successful week. And you just heard Stephanie say we got 2 more positive cases. In the big picture of things, it's not much, but I would prefer that we keep our campus safe for some more time. Give us some more time. I'll continue to collect data. We'll watch El Paso County statistics. I think I don't see the urgency of bringing the visitors back right now at risking the campus. So I hope you understand. But we'll continue to keep that on top of our mind, because that's not something that we like to do. I always said our campus is part of our community, so we'd love to see them back, but we want to keep them safe as well as keep us safe.
And I would add that as somebody who does contact tracing, it is not easy always to find all of those touch points. So as you start bringing visitors to campus, it makes contact tracing that much more complicated, because we may not know where they were. And you saw the factors I already have to get to try to do that with visitors as well is going to be very, very time intensive and make it so that we might miss some people. And that would be really hard on us too.
Also, I would add, Chris, if somebody feels very strongly they should have had a visitor and they couldn't, just let us know, inform us. Either call the Chancellor's office or call Chuck's office so that we can at least compile what we're missing. So that'll help us kind of make the call when we need to. So if anybody's feeling the pressure to bring visitors in, let us know.
All right. Well, my job is to be the official timekeeper, so we're getting towards the top of the hour here. So I want to leave a minute for the Chancellor to say a few words. There are a few questions in the inbox that are very specific, so know that we'll do our best to respond to you individually with your specific questions about that impact, the small group of people on campus. But we'll get back to you as best we can on those. So with that, let's use the last couple minutes here, Chancellor. I'd like to turn it over to you for some closing remarks.
Well, first, let me start off giving a huge shout out to Aiden, who just said, wear your mask and be safe. Thank you, Aiden. But really, I'm deeply appreciative of all the work our faculty and staff are engaged in helping this campus not only prepare, but to make progress during these COVID-19 times. And students, I take tremendous pride in you for rising to every challenge set before you with understanding and compassion. You are truly a credit to UCCS. And to our shared governance leadership, I want to say thank you, David, Alex, and Aiden, for joining me today on the town hall to share your goals and hopes for the coming year. Because we've talked a lot about COVID. I think it's time to start talking about the future and what it holds for us. I think that's what's going to keep us energized and continue to move forward. So I look forward to working with you all on accomplishing as many of those goals as you set for yourself and for your areas. And thank you for your leadership and collaboration. Difficult times are difficult because we sense a loss of control, and that's what we sense so far. As it is said, this too shall pass. These hard times will not last forever. We will get through these times because we are in this together, and we will help each other navigate these tough times. Even as we roll out the fall semester, we have begun making plans to prepare for the spring semester opening. So let's commit to continue to build a community that is caring and compassionate, even in a virtual environment. I'm just so pleased that I'm privileged to be serving in this great mountain lion country. Without you, we can't do this. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. We will get through this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Chancellor. And again, thank you to all of our colleagues who joined us today. So with that, we're going to conclude the September Town Hall. We look forward to seeing you all here virtually in October. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.